Okay. Alright, so guys, I'm going to go through the technical side of this thing that we're doing. So for this half an hour, I'm going to go through the technical side of it, that we need of all four teams to be on the same page, right? So even if you're at different levels of professionalism, we need you just to listen to this lecture part to be on the same page for what we want from you. Then we're going to turn off the Zoom and turn it back on for the second half an hour, and that's when we want to hear from you, because as you know that you got the brief that there are 4 types of scenes that we want you guys to shoot. Now, we understand that some of you heard 4 films. It actually means four bits, right, that we want you to shoot, and we're going to go over that in the second half hour, okay? Right? Now, Alex.
Yeah.
There should be a chat board, right?
I've just sent a message to everyone saying use the chat.
Right. So use the chat. Alex is on the chat, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the lecture. So I'm going to talk to you for the next 20 minutes or so. Okay? Everybody understand? So use the chat. All right. So you probably can't see this board, but what we're going to do is we'll send you a video of it, right? And mainly write things down and follow along if you can, as best as you can, okay? So my name is Chase Johnson Lynch, so I'll be your producer, your showrunner, your main support throughout this whole project. So that way, we're all listening to the same hymn sheet of what you're going to do, right? So, what I want to then find out for you is like give you from my perspective of what I'm expecting. Now, Alex, let me know how many of you guys are going to be using cameras or phones. So how many of you are going to be using cameras? Write it in the chat. How many are going to be using phones? And Alex, let me know.
Okay.
Right? Because one hand is when Leona came down to Ghana, she used a phone. Now, phones are good for filming, but it's about how you use this phone. And so that's what the first bit on the agenda was as far as equipment needs. These phones are good 4G phones. I don't know about what you guys are working with down there. They're good HD quality as well. So what I'm going to talk about is how to use the phone, right? So now you might say, dude, I already know this. Think of the people who don't, okay? So what we're going to be doing, expecting you to do, is to shoot all your scenes like this. Holding the phone rectangly, we call it landscape, right? Shoot all your shots this way. Do not shoot like this. Do not shoot like that, right? Just shoot straight on like this. Hold it steady, shoot your shots. You might not have access to things like this, but these are really good. Or you might have other versions of it, right? But it's just kind of like a tripod for your phone. Yeah? So that way you can just sit on the table, or you can still move it around freely and still feel like you're using a camera. Right? Now, what's great is they're unlimited too. So like if you're in places, some people were worried about what places they would be going to shoot at, right? Like a plantation or a factory. Everybody's usually allowed to have phones. So it's kind of like, feel like Mission Impossible. Got my phone out. Shoot whatever I gotta shoot, right? And everything, and I'm capturing stuff. But this is what I'm trying to say, this is gonna be your main element. Now what happens is a lot of people don't know, and if you do know it, think about the people who don't, right? A lot of people don't know how to upload the footage from their phones, right? Raise your hand, because I can look at the chat later who doesn't know how to do that. So, I would just explain it very simply, is that we plug our phone in, it usually has a USB cable into a laptop or a computer. Then it comes up as iPhone, right, within your computer, and then you click on internal storage, right? So in the internal storage, there will be a folder called DCIM, and then that is where all the footage as well as the pictures that you would take are on there. All of that is done with this project, you need to upload to me. Can't see it on the board, but you need to use something called, this is what you need to write down, it's called WeTransfer, WeTransfer, WeTransfer.com. It's a free site for you to upload anything up to 2 gigabytes. So whatever you shoot on your phone really shouldn't be more than 2 gigabytes, but if it is, then you have to break it down into pieces, right? You will send it to me, my email address, which is moon2blaze@hotmail.com. So Alex, can you write down WeTransfer.com and moon2blaze.com on there? On the chat. So Alex will be writing that onto the chat for you if you didn't get that. Now, that's the bit about the phone and the equipment. If you're using cameras, it's the same thing. Your cameras more than likely will have SD cards or SanDisk cards. You will still put that into your computer and you'll still take out the footage and upload it to WeTransfer. Everybody got that bit? Cool. Nod your heads too. Help me out because I'm not reading the chat. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to filmmaking concepts. So on the list of filmmaking concepts, general means general views, right? So general views means that for most of you, no matter where you are, you will be giving us general views. That means that we need establishing wide shots of the locations that you're in, especially with the areas that you're going to be dealing with. Whether it's a plantation farm or it's a clothing plant, place that makes clothes, place that produces chocolate, place that, whatever you're going to be filming, we need a general view of it, right? This is like what you see in the opening of any movie, like a montage. It's kind of like, this is where we are. So think about it like we turn it into somewhat of a music video, but for this project, we want everybody's general views kind of like to become meshed as one, right? So it's a point of cohesion for us all. So we need you to be filming general views, okay? So when we talk later, I'll say, hey, did you guys get me some general views? And then you say, yeah, we got some, or we didn't get any yet, okay? That's location shots of the area so that way we can identify that you're in Dominican Republic or that you're in Ghana, that kind of thing. The next one is cutaways. If you're a filmmaker, you know what a cutaway is, but like some of you don't. We're hoping that some of you are able to do interviews with people wherever they are. But what will happen is you're only going to have your phone. You're only going to have one camera. So whenever you shoot, you always have to be able to get a cutaway, which means you have to cut away to another shot that we could still use as a voiceover that we know that you're in the same thing. So, for example, I'm talking a lot with my hands, right? I'm doing that on purpose. Because if I'm doing an interview or I'm talking to you, I may want to cut away of just my hands. That means you don't see my lips, right? You just see my hand movement, so that way you get an idea that this is still the same person, right? And then I'm talking, okay? So another cutaway could be what we call foreground elements. So foreground elements would be just like if I'm in an office, if you shoot somebody in an office and they have something on their table, like a tabletop thing, right? You will cut away to it, yeah, just because you're giving us a little slow pan of the office, right? All right, something wrong with my Wi-Fi is still good, right? Okay, cool. So you're getting us a little cutaway of something else because what will happen is sometimes people make a mistake or sometimes they talk too long. Sometimes you just want to truncate their conversation. That means cut their conversation down. So with the cutaway, you're able to do that. You're able to cut away to something else and then in the edit, I can come back to that conversation. So it turns a 15-minute interview into 5 minutes or 3, okay? Everybody understand that? Okay. The next one is signage, right? So with signage, what that means is that we need to identify where we are. So I'll give you an example for those who were in Ghana with Leona, and she was at a cocoa plant, and she was just shooting like somebody packing, cocoa onto the truck. I don't know where they are. There was no signage. There was no information to give the audience a sense of where your setting is. So you're going to need signage wherever you are. You need to be able to always identify some element that we know we're there. So it could be the outside of a building, right? It could be the outside of a farm, yeah? Something with a name on it that we have permission to use, all right? If it's in the general public eye, we have permission to use it. It's always in like how we use it. You can't say, oh, that's a really bad farm, and then name them. But I just mean that we need some sense of signage, and I need you to be thinking about that all the time when you're shooting. All right, so that takes care of our main filmmaking concepts, right? So now we come down to techniques, which is about frame composition. Now, I shouldn't have to explain to most of you about frame composition, meaning that close-up, mid-shot, close-up, mid-shot, wide shot, right? Everybody understands that, yeah? Even with the phone, you can still get these things. But what you might not understand is why we get these shots. So, this is our main thing that I will send you a picture of, which is called the storyboard, or I call it the triptych. Because everything that you shoot... What? What?
We've got the final team just arrived. They just logged in.
Oh, the final team just showed up? Don't worry, we are recording this final team. So you all will get the video of this as well, all right? So, but we're asking people to write it down. So if you could just turn off your mic so we could just finish off what we're doing. So, what is that? Hey, man? Yeah, thank you very much. So this is the main bit for everyone. So you showed up just in time, actually. What I need, I will help you design this. But this storyboard is 9 boxes, right? You can kind of want to see that a little bit. Right? So we've all seen a storyboard. But the object of the storyboard really is that every scene has a beginning, middle, and end. That means the beginning of that scene has a beginning, middle, and end. The middle of that scene has a beginning, middle, and end. And the ending of that scene has a beginning, middle, and end. If you structure your thinking to, I need to get these particular shots for my piece that I'm delivering, that will give you your focus. As opposed to, what are we shooting? We're going out randomly just shooting things, and we actually don't know how this comes together. I want you to actually start to thinking about, I'm telling a story here. That's what documentarians do. If you were doing a documentary, that's what you would do. You have to figure out, I'm at the beginning of that story, I'm at the middle of that story, and I'm at the end of that story. How does it begin, middle, and end? But what I just said about frame composition is, the wide shot always sets the setting. It always gives us where we are. So in every movie you see, always begins with a wide shot. Because what they always do at the beginning is open the book of the story that they're going to tell. So that's always your first shot is a wide. At the end of the movie, it closes the book, right? So you already know that your first shot and your ninth shot are wides. And they're opening and closing, beginning and ending their stories, okay? So wherever we are seeing something that's wide, or even if it's people talking, a wide shot is like what they call like a master shot, right? It's a whole scene, and then they move in and they do their cutaways, right? They do their close-ups. So you have to think in that every time I shoot a wide shot, it's because I'm getting a master of everything. But if I have a master of everything, I'm going to need my close-ups and I'm going to need my cutaways. So then comes the mid shot. So the mid shot also is like a 2-shot as well, because the mid shot is what we call the shot that establishes communication. right? So right now you see a mid shot of me, and you see that I'm lecturing, right? So I'm establishing communication with my audience. I got a little bit of a wide berth there because I got some talking space, right? So that means somebody could come into that space and I could be talking to them, right? And I'm gesturing with my hands, so you see all of that. But if you were tight in, you would not see any of that. So that's why it's what we call, if you want to show communication between people, you would do these kind of shots, right? But the main one is the close-up, which has one point only, and that is to deliver emotion. I know what kind of piece something is by the close-up. If a person is sad, if they're scared, if they're happy, if they're confused, I am establishing some type of emotion. Now, you might say, well, dude, this is a documentary. I don't understand why we're talking about that. You're talking about that because this is also, there's an ethos behind all of this. We're talking about anti-slavery. We're talking about our people being worked too hard on those farms. We're talking about, this is where your chocolate comes from. This is where your cocoa, this is where your clothes are made, right? And the people who make them, you know, are they being in servitude? Are they being well paid, right? So we have to establish through our camera work what we're trying to tell or convey emotionally, and that is the close-ups. That is why we need people to talk to you. We need you to be able to talk to people to find out what their stories are, how they're living, how their life is, right? So we need all of that from you. So when we're doing all of that, we are figuring out where we're going to put close-ups and mid-shots. As far as frame composition, there's of course all those other angles. Over the shoulders, handheld, POV, all of that. But these are the main choices I need you to focus on, is what kind of story are you going to deliver in this project? As filmmakers from your region, what is the things that you want to establish and what is it that you can actually convey and put into this? So, bringing it down to the end, we understand getting interviews might be hard. Yeah? Getting people to talk about their experiences might be hard. But we want you to understand that the reason why we're asking for people in those regions where you are to talk to people who probably will talk to you is that we want the real story. We don't want like somebody coming in and saying, you're being mistreated, aren't you? Yeah, this is really bad, isn't it? That's the judgment call. We're not asking for that. We're asking for you to convey the story that we don't know. If it's different from the one that we are thinking, then it's different from the one that we're thinking. All I can say to that is we have to just play this by ear as we go along. Now, so being that it's come down, I did all my story points on there, right? We have 9 minutes before we have to change over. And when we change over, right, for the next Zoom, what we want to do is talk to you and have you talk to us. So that means you, Albert, and your team over there, wherever you are, right, is that the way this is going to work is that we feel that if there's one voice, meaning like a showrunner, like you probably heard that term, especially those guys working on that Netflix show, right over there, is that we don't want you to feel like you're alone in this. We want you to feel well supported. So we're going to have further conversations from this one. This was just an introductory conversation to kind of like what we're looking for as far as when you deliver films back to us. You know, we're asking for you to kind of like take on board what this is. We filmed it, so we're going to send the film to you as well, and as well as some notations after that. So within the last like 8 minutes, I mean, I see there's a big chat up here, and Alex has been following you guys on the chat. Thank you very much, Alex, and stuff. Any questions on there that I should answer before they go away, Alex?
They were just one question about storyboard and the composition. I think Albert got cut out and came back in. So I told them we're hopefully recording this.
Yeah, you can see it right there. Maybe could you just adjust that, make sure that's on me now. But yeah. So no, Albert, the storyboard will be actually sent to you and all that kind of stuff. That breakdown. Any other questions? Because some of you probably are at different experience as far as filming is concerned. So please, I'm not trying to talk down to anyone. I'm really only just trying to make sure that everyone, has the same kind of thing. And of course, my level of training is a lot more extensive than this, but I was only trying to put together a 30-minute piece that everybody could just kind of like grasp and utilize. So any questions on that, feel free to put it into the chat. We have like 5 minutes before this cuts off and everything. But when we come back, what we're going to do when we come back is I'm going to expect each of you, main person from your team, to speak to all of us like I am right now. Just tell us where you're from and everything, and what you hoping to do within the project. Then after you do that, then I'm going to go over. You were given a brief that had 4 scenes. A breakdown of 4 scenes, and we want to hopefully have most of the time to talk about that, but we just want to get a little bit of time for you guys to be able to introduce yourselves. Yeah? Okay, so if there are no questions, you shy people out there, do not be shy when you come back. So what we will do, we will cut off this Zoom right now, and then I'll turn it back on in like about, 2 minutes or whatever, however way that works. So look forward to turn it back on. All right, and hopefully that was all understandable. And again, like I said, we'll send out a video copy of it as well. All right, thank you guys very much. Appreciate you listening, and I look forward to talking to you in 2 minutes. How do I leave this meeting? Or do I just stop the video?
Yeah. Just stop.
Who did that? Oh no, let's stop video. Not video. Sure, I was supposed to turn
ask
off?
everyone to leave.
Okay. Ask everyone to leave, Alex. You guys have to leave as well. And rejoin. Look at how you got you a coffee, didn't give me no coffee. What's up with that? All right, so can you turn that off then?
How did you press the record?
Red button, yeah.